Hello, this is Doc Severson for the ReadySetCrypto Premium Newsletter Market Update for Sunday, March 3rd. Starting out with Bitcoin today, and this is no different from what I've been talking about the last several days here, is that we have a market which is just coiling itself into oblivion, apparently, because it's just not moving right now. Just not moving, and this is not only at this time frame, but if we go up to the weekly chart, we can see the weekly chart's just been coiling. So we've had this for several weeks. We understand why, because range expansion that we had in November goes to range contraction. But now, even at this point, we've gone on for a little longer than we would expect to see. We don't normally see the energy at the weekly chart sit here at a 60 plus level. This is almost unheard of that we see it going on for this long. Really, the last time that we saw any kind of consolidation to this level was the same thing back in early 2016, where it just sat there for weeks doing nothing before it started to get it on, as they say. So again, down to the daily chart, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Dow. Today is the 7th day in a row of nothing, nada. And we can see that in the weekly chart. The weekly chart is just, at this point, just next to nothing, just a very small bodied candle. Now, going down to the 5-hour chart, even the 5-hour chart is just showing very little, if anything. Now, we've talked about the fact that this bear flag should eventually kind of release to the downside. Maybe we've seen the final retest of that from beneath, and then it's starting to release as we get into the morning here. There's about 7 hours left before the day flips over. So I'm recording this fairly early in the day on Sunday. Now, this look at the 5-hour chart does give us some hope that there is kind of a floating bid below the current price, because every time we see the price break lower from this pattern, it gets hauled right back up before long. And we've seen this happen several times. So we've seen the initial break lower, found support, and then all of a sudden, boom. And we've seen a couple of these, and there is apparently a fair amount of demand sitting below the market. So sitting below the market saying, hey, if it comes down there, I'll buy the dip. And so enough people do that, eventually what happens is bounce, 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 and then the bears get tired of it, and they say, well, all right, let's see if we can find a higher level to short from. And they buy back their positions, and part of that helps to stimulate demand back up to the upside. But again, today we're looking at this and there's just no excitement. There's nothing going on across the board with just about anything. Everything is like sub 1% one way or the other. The only coins that we see with any real potential of movement today, we've got a nice one here from Stellar. This is just the last, again, this is a 5-hour candle. So this has just happened based on some kind of news or rumor that's occurred just now. And Stellar, pretty decent volume behind it. Okay, we'll have to see whether or not there's anything behind that. And going out to our swing trade portfolio that we're keeping an eye on. So this is the watch list for the swing trades. Here is Chainlink. We've been watching Chainlink now forever, it seems. And let's zoom in here a little bit. So the daily chart's just showing a big consolidation. The weekly chart is now at a level where it will sustain a move, but we are starting to lose momentum on the RSI to the downside as this pullback has become a little bit more than that. It's been pulled into a full weekly consolidation, but it has enough energy. But you'd see we've got the alert that's up here, which is going to let us know if we start seeing a breakout of this descending trend line. So we'll keep an eye on that one, but no action right now. Here is Waves. Waves is just falling asleep. This is, again, just another example of a coin which is broken out, got attention, and then got pounded down into submission. Here's Goldcoin. Goldcoin is still doing okay, but not really doing much of anything. So let's go ahead and draw that pennant into here that we're seeing. So we have that from the top side, and we have another trend line here from the downside. Let's draw that into place. So now we're getting some structure in terms of the chart pattern for Goldcoin. Here is Edgeless, and Edgeless just not moving. Basic attention token. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So basic attention token is gotten a nice little daily move, higher low, higher high, uptrend on the daily chart. That's good. Let's see the weekly chart. Weekly chart is an unmitigated mess right now. This is just all consolidation. And actually what this looks like is almost a monthly consolidation chart. So there's really no pattern in here. This is about the best example I could come up with of saying this is non-linear price action. But keep in mind that when everybody falls asleep on something like this, this is the very nature of range contraction. And this happens so often where prices will just coil like this in an asset to the point where people just stop watching it and saying, well, there's no point in watching that anymore. And then like a phoenix from the ashes, it will just take off and nobody sees it coming. There it was. And everybody chases after that as the FOMO gets very real and kicks in. So just keep an eye on this one. And there's ways to let yourself know. I mean, if you want to, right now is not a great time to jump on this. I would wait for a daily setup. Wait for a daily setup on here. So what we would want to see is a nice tight little consolidation on this guy. So a tight little consolidation is where we just kind of set up these railroad tracks on something like this. You know, so typical bull flag is a slightly descending pattern. Volume would start to tail off, which is okay. That's what we want. Volume tail off, and then eventually we see a big breakout from here. Now the weekly chart, basically there's so little trending on the weekly chart, it's saying, sure, go ahead, whatever you want to do. But nice volume on here. That's a good start. Volume is always a good start for this. So here is Vertcoin. This is the weekly chart on Vertcoin. You can see that right now, this is still a large weekly downtrend. So again, let me emphasize that this swing trade watch list, these are the best of the best right now. That kind of tells you something right now, is that we're still under this pressure, this downside pressure. We don't really have anything distinguishing itself to the upside right now. So with Vertcoin, it's not even worth looking at the daily chart right now because this is just another lower high on the weekly chart. Until it starts to make higher highs and higher lows, then we'll get excited about that. Theta has been very strong lately. It's got a very strong week, although it's kind of tailing in from building that cup pattern. So that's good, although, boy, this is just a magnificent breakout from a consolidation at the daily chart. Just wonderful. The problem is, looking at the weekly chart, we really didn't have the rules to take that breakout because this was already in exhaustion by the time that it broke out. So we are seeing these breakout candidates come out of nowhere, really, and a whole lot of money comes out of nowhere because it's all sitting on the sideline, and it's almost like a gang tackle mentality where the money will come into this until it distinguishes itself and everybody sees it, and then we play whack-a-mole on something, and it just gets pounded down, and as the money rotates to a different coin. So we've been trying to be patient about these things, but it really hasn't been paying off all that much because typically when something breaks out like this and starts to set up for the next trend, it's already over. And so that's kind of the nature of, so what I'm saying here is that what I'm anticipating is, even though I'm being patient and let's wait for the next setup here, we may not see it. It may just do like the rest of these and just go like this. And this will stop happening. When this stops happening, we will notice it, and it will be liberating because it's going to be a signal that we've switched character over to a manner of accumulation instead of this distribution all the time. Now, today's rock star over the last few days has been Ravencoin. So Ravencoin is the latest one that's attracting attention. So more than likely, we'll see the same thing. If we go out to the weekly chart, we see nice big candle here on good volume. Nice momentum. We still have a fair amount of energy. So if this were to consolidate over the next few days, so clearly this is in exhaustion, but if this pulls into a flag over the next few days, so we'll keep an eye on this one. If it pulls into a flag, then we want to look for this to build up again and then take the next breakout. So we could still do that on the weekly chart, at least until the weekly chart flips over. We'll see if we still have energy with that. And so we can usually get like maybe one breakout entry on these, and then the gang mentality kicks in again and they pound the coin down. Quite honestly, guys, this is why I've been talking so much about futures, because futures works really nicely with a fractal arrangement like this. So this is a fractal arrangement where I have a 25x over here. So 25x, which is the 5-hour chart. So that's the 5-hour chart. Here's the 5x, and the 5x is the 1-hour chart, and down to the 1x, which is the 12-minute chart. So there's the 12-minute chart, 1 hour, 5-hour. That combination's working really well in Bitcoin right now. Although this is tough stuff here because it's like you're getting a lot of signals, but no follow through. So you're having to kind of jump on things and then choke off the profits as they're available and not get too greedy with the targets. One of the things that I'm looking at using here is the Heiken Ashi candlestick. So if you go up to this area here, you can actually apply Heiken Ashi to the 25x, and I find that that's useful. Now, it does come with a penalty of somewhat modifying the energy and the RSI down here because it affects the close price of the candle, right? So the closing price of the candle and the opening price of the next candle are somewhat different. So it does modify these slightly, but not to the point that I find it unusable. Because really all I'm looking for on the 25x chart is just a minimum level of energy, so at least 40 or so. And I'm looking to trade in the direction of the swing. So this is helpful for me to know that the swing is, in this case, red, or we can even trade the swings inside of here. We can even trade the swings inside of here. Now this, quite honestly, is very difficult to trade these kind of swings in here. They're so short in length, and there's just no follow through on things. But like I said, guys, this is happening at all time frames right now, starting at the weekly chart. This will not sit here for very much longer. I think I said that a week ago. So I'm even more emphatic about it now, is that we're going to get some massive movement here fairly soon. Keep your eyes peeled, set those alerts on your chart so that you can take advantage of this, whether or not it goes to the upside or the downside. I don't know which way it's going to go. And I don't want to bias myself by predicting one way or the other, because it just doesn't help anything. Because typically what happens is the price will break in the direction that causes the greatest amount of pain to the largest sample of traders that are out there. And usually they have predicted it going the opposite way. So it's kind of a deer in the headlights situation where they're too frozen to do anything about it. And that usually makes the situation even worse. So I do like the fact that we've had a number of tests down here and each one of them has survived. And it makes me think that when everybody gets bearish enough, maybe this thing will go in the opposite direction, at least for a little while here. I still think that we have some unfinished business to the downside because that would create the capitulation. But again, it can do whatever it wants to do. You have to release the chart to let it move in the direction that it wants to do and don't argue with that. So that what you have to do almost every day is come into the market and say, what would I do if the price went up? What would I do if the price went down? And put plans into place to take advantage of those types of movements. Don't ever be surprised by the movement that comes from one of these big consolidations. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday. Take care.